Last night, my sleep was not good at all. At all. I'm just turning right and left, mostly awake throughout the night. Had few instances of REM sleep, and that's about it. Deep sleep was very low, even according to my smartwatch. Even though the smartwatch will overestimate the deep sleep. So according to my smartwatch, I only slept 30 minutes for deep sleep, and that's an overestimate. Overestimate because it's never always accurate, the smartwatch. So you have to I'll have to think of it. I probably only slept maybe 15 minutes, half of that. That would be more of an accurate number. um 15 minutes of deep sleep, which is not enough. I mean, you need at least 1 hour or so, because 2 hours I think of deep sleep. uh I think 25% is the number. What most people need is 25% of deep sleep. That would be a healthy number, 25% of your sleep. So if you're sleeping 8 hours, 50% will be 4 hours. 25% will be 2 hours. So if I get around 1 to 2 hours, above anything above 1 hour will be a good number for me, and that should be my goal. But 15-minute deep sleep is just is nothing, and I could feel it even throughout the day. When I don't get deep sleep, I could feel anxious, right? I don't feel myself, like I don't feel I'm inside my body. I feel like I'm not normal, right? Like you could feel like you're sick. You're not feeling well. You don't feel well when you don't get deep sleep. Um, so how do we actually measure sleep? And this is challenging to every person, especially we don't have the technology to do it. Like even these smartwatches are limited, right, in their ability to measure sleep. And for me, what how I do it is I know, like I know my body, like how when I'm sleeping and when I'm not, right? Um, like if I'm laying down in bed from 1 to, let's say, from 12 to 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. to for 2 hours, let's say, and I haven't slept, and I look at my smartwatch and it says I slept, and I know that's false. So I know like how it looks like when um so I know how it looks like when I'm not sleeping. So on the graph, right, it will show mostly light sleep. Like my watch overestimates light sleep, right? So when you're just laying down in bed, it will say you're sleeping. It will say you have light sleep. So whenever I see very long light sleep on my graph of like, because my smartwatch will give me a graph at the end of the night. And it will tell me, okay, you have a very long light sleep, and I know for sure that is not it's not sleep. That's laying down in bed. So this is one way for me to record my sleep, because it's very hard to just wake up and then write it down on a paper. You don't do that, because if you start writing down every minute you woke up, every minute you went back to sleep, it become a distraction and you cannot sleep. So that's why I have to rely on technology to kind of measure my sleep, right? So I know how the graph is supposed to look like. So I kind of remove all the impertinent information that I know is not sleep, and that's how I get a better picture of like how many hours I sleep. And you could know it yourself. You could feel it also. Like the day when you sleep well, you feel drowsy. There's a drowsiness feeling associated with this with your sleep. Um, that will be when the best sleep score you can get, actually. Like I know, like one of my best sleep scores is when I feel drowsy. When I feel like, yes, I'm drowsy, but that's very rare. It never happens that often. Um, very rare. So drowsiness is an indicator of your sleep level. of your um, quality of sleep. That's drowsiness. and and you will know also, there's another measure you could take also, is how many and you will know yourself when you're sleeping or not also. Like if you lose track of time, you know you slept. If you have a dream, you know you slept, right? So losing track of time, let's say you check the time, it's 1 a.m, and the next thing you know it's 3 a.m, and you don't know how it went from 1 to 3 all of a sudden, and then you lost track of time, and you know you slept. um, so this is one way to do it without using a smartwatch, but the smartwatch can help you a little bit, kind of like get more accurate picture of your sleep. um, but it's not accurate, the smartwatch, for sure. Like there are days when I didn't sleep at all, it was, and my smartwatch will say I slept 4 hours, which is ridiculous. It's not true. um, so you have to know how to extract information from the data your smartwatch gives you, and this is a skill you build over time, by monitoring your by watching all the signs of that indicates you're sleeping. Like as I said, like when you have a dream, you know you slept, right? And if you keep moving, and you know you could hear things, listen to things outside, like the fan in your room, right? And you're aware of that you're awake. When you're awake, you know you're awake, right? So you have awareness of it. um, so all these things, all these indicators, you could use them along with the data you get from your smartwatch to kind of extract data. Like you will come to know which data is pertinent or more realistic than, and you could remove some data, and that's how I do it. Like for me, for example, if my smartwatch goes from REM sleep to being awake all of a sudden, like if it goes from REM to light sleep, and then light sleep, it becomes REM very quickly, REM, and then awake, then I know that period I didn't sleep. That period is just no sleep at all. Because sometimes it does show that, like it goes to REM and then awake, or sometimes it just goes from light to being awake all of a sudden. And I know that period is not sleep. It's just fake data that your smartwatch is kind of trying to predict that you're sleeping, but that's fake data. Um, it's just a false prediction. Your smartwatch can make false positive predictions, and you could remove that. You will learn over time which one is false positive, which one is false negative, which one is, which of the data set is more accurate. Yeah, you just have to keep watching your smartwatch and know when you're sleeping, know when you're not sleeping. um like I know if I could tell when I'm awake, and I could tell when I'm sleeping. um like I said, dreams is one indicator. When you dream, you know you're sleeping. You lose track of time, you know you're sleeping. If you wake up feeling a little drowsy, let's say you open your eyes and you're feeling a little drowsy, a little bit disoriented at the time, you know you slept. Because you don't normally feel drowsy and disoriented at the time if you haven't slept, right? Like, when it's same thing like when you before having insomnia, right? Before having insomnia, when you wake up, the first thing is like you don't want to get out of the bed, right? Because you're feeling drowsy. You know you slept because you're feeling drowsy, right? You don't want to get out of the bed. So these are indicators that you've slept, right? And if you're checking the time constantly, you will know that, okay, from this time to this time I was feeling drowsy, from this time to this time I didn't feel drowsy, right? Or not necessarily drowsy. For me, in my case, I don't feel drowsy at all usually. Most of the nights I don't feel drowsy. What I do feel is another feeling. It's like a little bit more like hallucinating kind of thing, like like a dream-like state. I don't know how to explain it. Like I don't feel drowsy. I feel like more like almost a little bit drowsy, you could say. I don't know, I can't really explain the feelings, but I don't feel drowsy at all. um this is why I'm having insomnia, because I don't feel drowsy. Like sometimes I enter into more like a sleep like dream like mode. I enter into that mode sometimes. And like, so basically it's like more like hallucinating, right? um so I will imagine things like someone is talking to me, and right, like this is like me, my body's telling me, okay, go to sleep, right? um so that's, instead of drowsy, I get that feeling, right? So my body does enter into that mode where I feel like, yeah, somebody's talking to me, blah blah blah, like hallucinating. And eventually I end up falling asleep after that. um so this is the adaptation my body made to fall asleep when I don't feel drowsy. So it enters into kind of hallucinating mode, dreamlike, like daydreaming, you could say. I don't know, like more like a daydreaming, right? Sometimes it happens like that, not all the time, of course. But this is one of the signs I know, like, okay, I'm probably feeling sleepy now, right? Yeah, but I don't feel drowsy. This is the issue. So my body made another adaptation. Instead of feeling drowsy, it enters into more a hallucination mode kind of thing. It's not hallucination because I'm not seeing anything unreal. It's more like the mind is trying to imagine the daydream kind of, like make a fake dream while you're not sleeping, but it's like making these kind of things, right? Fake dreams. Not real dreams. Not You're not in a REM sleep yet, right? So you're just imagining things, and you could control it somewhat. Like you could wake up, you could not wake up, you could get out of the bed, so you're not really sleeping. You're aware, you're hearing the fan, you're hearing everything, but you're dreaming at the same time, kind of thing, daydreaming. I don't know if it doesn't make sense, like when I try to explain it, but this is the best I can explain it. Because I'm aware of myself being awake, and at the same time I could kind of like a dream. I have a dream mind, right? Like I get into a dream state sometimes, and even though I'm not sleeping. And sometimes I could hear myself snore. Like one time only snore one or two times, like, and then I'm still hearing the fan, but I hear my breathing. I hear normal breathing, and I hear my one snore or two, and I know my body is trying to fall asleep at this point, right? So you could hear yourself snore sometimes when you have insomnia. Um, uh, so because you're not into a deep sleep, so your mind is awake, but your body is trying to fall asleep, right? Um, so there's a lot of abnormal sleep behaviors you might experience as a person with insomnia. You might, at least in my case, it's happening. I could hear myself snore sometimes. And yeah, I could hear the fan, I could hear everything. I could get up from the bed like I'm not sleeping, right? But I know this is a sign for me. It's like, okay, I'm getting close to sleep. If I hear myself snore, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting close to sleep. My body is shutting down. My brain is awake, but I'm getting close to sleep, right? Um, yeah. So as I said, like I'm talking about different indicators. Like you will know yourself you're asleep if you may get some indicators like me. Like you hallucinate or daydream, or you might feel drowsy, or you might hear yourself snore even, and that could be an indicator you're about to fall asleep. You're getting close to sleep, right? um, so all these signs you could take into consideration that you probably going to sleep, or you slept, or you just woke up from sleep. um, I know myself, like when I look at the chart, like today for example, I looked at the chart. I didn't get much sleep, and I know like all night I'm awake. All night all I can do is listen to my breathing. There's nothing I can do other than force myself to sleep. Just I just listen to how I breathe, right? I just focus on my breathing when I try to sleep, and that's all I can do. There's nothing else. It's boring, it's tiring, it's frustrating, but I try not to pay attention to that. I only pay attention to my breathing, and eventually I get bored, and my mind starts to hallucinate, kind of thing, like make a dream-like things and dream-like images in my head, and then I fall asleep eventually. Eventually, I will have a real dream, and I know when I have a real dream from a fake dream, right? Like I know the difference between the two. A real dream where you're not aware of your surrounding, like everything shuts down, you cannot hear the fan, and then when you wake up from a real dream, right? Like, oh, I just woke up from a real dream. Like you could feel it. Your heart is racing. When you wake up from a real dream, sometimes you feel your heart is racing. Um, like in my case, at least, I feel like I know myself. I just woke up from a dream. Um, yeah, like this is what happens to me sometimes. I don't. For people with insomnia, they don't wake up gradually sometimes, and this is the issue. At least in my case, like how you're supposed to wake up gradually, still feeling a little drowsy. You don't want to get out of the bed. That's a gradual way of waking up, right? But for a person like me with insomnia, I don't wake up gradually. I wake up with my heart racing, right? Sometimes. Um, so it's all of a sudden it's like, what happened, right? Like I can't believe what happened. It's like something, um, like a danger, like you're in danger, right? You feel like there was something scary just happened, right? Something abnormal, like you don't know you slept. It's like sleeping becomes a scary thing almost. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, like sometimes you might end up having nightmares too. Not a nightmare like in a way like scary, but it's like for example today I woke up in a dark room. No, I had a dream I was in a dark room, and I'm trying to say, oh my god, why is so dark? Why I cannot control myself? I'm not. Am I sleepy? And all of a sudden I'm like, no, I cannot be sleepy. I don't sleep. Like so my mind is like when I'm dreaming. This is my dream was like about my sleep, about me not sleeping. So you have nightmares like that sometimes. It's not like nightmares of seeing evils or demons or anything like that, or something or traumatic event. Like so, I don't have these things. I don't have a traumatic event. The only trauma I have is not sleeping. So I might have some nightmares about not sleeping, right? Uh, and like when I lose control over my body, this is the nightmare I might have, right? So it's like today, I was dreaming I was inside a dark room and I cannot wake up from it, and that made me panic. And I woke up, my heart racing. Um, this happens, but sometimes I don't necessarily have a dream, and I wake up the same way. My heart is racing. So um, without a dream, I wake up, my heart is racing. Um, so the nightmare maybe as a result of my body waking up and is trying to make sense of it. My brain is making these dreams. It's trying to make sense of it. So that's why sometimes you might have a nightmare dream, but that's not the cause of your heart racing. The cause of your heart racing because physiologically there's something going on there. But your brain could make some dreams to become like a nightmare when your heart is racing, right? When your heart is racing, you're sometimes your brain can make images, scary images, like you're in trouble, you're in danger. um, it can make all these dreams, nightmare dreams. um, but there's nothing traumatic in my life that is causing it. Like I know all these psychiatrists, they try to tell me, oh, you have a trauma, you have this. This is why you wake up with your heart racing and whatnot. But not really. There is no trauma. The only trauma I have is not sleeping, to be honest. That's the only trauma I have. And if I could fix my sleep problem, I will not have these traumas. But I don't always dream. I don't always have nightmares. I sometimes just wake up without dreaming, not having any dream at all, and I just wake up, and I wake up, my heart is racing. I don't know, because it's that's how it is. There's something physiologically wrong, hormonal level wise. Um, some maybe adrenaline. Maybe my body is making adrenaline at nighttime, and that is causing my heart to race. And I know it's abnormal, but there's some hormonal imbalance going on somewhere. Um, that's for sure. I mean, I cannot blame my thoughts on it. I can't, because when I go to bed, I don't. I'm only listening to my breathe. Like, the only thing I do think about is not. I don't really think about anything. Nothing. I'm not worried about money. I'm not worried about anything. I go to bed just to listen to my breathing. That's it. Like, I don't do anything at all. There isn't anything I can do to change what's happening to me, right? And the only explanation I have is that my um it's a hormonal imbalance somewhere. Maybe some and I'm trying to explain to my doctor, like, I could have some cancer somewhere, some tumor cancer that's affecting the glands that produce hormones. So I'm always having an adrenaline rush at nighttime, especially after I sleep. And I'm trying to explain, maybe you need to investigate more, but these doctors, they don't really take it seriously. They don't take you seriously. And this is a problem. I don't have a doctor that takes me seriously. They'll tell you, no, you have mental issues, you have so and so. They try to convince you you're a mental patient, and uh, and then they blame you for it, that you could control it. No, I don't know what to do. I've done I've done meditation, I've done deep breathing, I've done everything I can, and there's nothing more I can do. Like, I've tried everything they should suggested to me. There's nothing I can do. Um, so I've I've learned a few things about myself. Like, you start to learn things about yourself over time. Um, like, what makes the sleep worse, what makes it better. Um, and it's still hard to find a pattern, but sometimes you do pick up some patterns. Like, for example, like sex. Like, every time I have sex, that day I cannot sleep. And this is probably a hormone issue, right? I do have low testosterone levels. Um, so yeah, I tried to do it, to have sex in the day instead of night, but I think it's doing the same thing. It's still affecting my sleep. Um, but I don't know, because it's very hard to pick up a pattern, because there could be two factors causing the sleep problem, and it's very hard to pick up one factor from the other, right? There could be more than one factor. For example, like, if one day I've had sex, let's say, and I couldn't sleep, but it could be because, not because of the sex, it could be because the previous night I slept well. So if I slept well one night, the next night I may not sleep very well, right? So it may not be sex. It could be because the previous night I slept well. So, and if you sleep well in one night, your sleep drive is low the next night. That could be also the case. So it's very hard to tell a pattern, to derive a pattern, right? To extract a pattern of what is causing the sleep problem, because there's more than one factor involved. And when there's more than one factor involved in affecting your sleep, then how can you figure out what's causing it, right? You have to kind of eliminate as many factors as you can that's causing the sleep, and then from there you could learn about yourself. But that's hard to eliminate all factors, right? It's very hard because how can I control my sleep? Like make my sleep less or more one day, right? I can't make my sleep consistent. Some days it's gonna be more sleep, some days it's gonna be less. I cannot control that, right? But I could control maybe sex, right? I don't have sex. Um, yeah. So this is what I'm gonna try. Like I'm gonna abstain from sex for a while. I think that'll be for my best interest. Because but it's very hard to do because sometimes when you don't sleep, you feel you're dead, you're dying, and as a human instinct, right? When we feel like we're dying, we want to have sex, we want to procreate, right? So there's that desire, you want to like have sex. So that low testosterone is really not affecting my sex drive. It's only affecting my mood after I have sex. Um, it's affecting how I sleep, right? Like that's why I kind of don't believe everything I read. They say testosterone affects your sex drive. It doesn't. I could have sex every day if I want to, and I do have the desire for it. Um, like, but the issue is I get scared. Um, the issue is if I have sex, I'm not gonna sleep. I know that day I'm not gonna sleep, and yeah, like sometimes you do feel you're dead. Um, get that feeling. You know you're dead. Or you're gonna die. And when you have that feeling, it does sometimes it the feeling of dead could either make you have more sex or could turn off sex. It depends. Um, yeah, yeah. Sometimes it makes me more sexually active when I feel like I'm dead. It's a human instinct, but sometimes it will just turn me off. It'll say, okay, like there's no point of sex. Like I'm gonna die. I I don't want. I can't even think about sex, right? I cannot think about anything. I don't care about sex. I don't care about anything, right? So, but I don't think testosterone is supposed to control your sexual desire. It more controls your mood, right? Your mood. If you're in a good mood, you're gonna have sex, right? But people, I don't know, doctors, even doctors, I think they don't speak correctly when they talk about testosterone and sex drive. I don't believe it has anything to do with sex drive, the testosterone. It has to do with your mood. If you're in a good mood, you have a good sex drive. And even if I'm not in a good mood, if I'm feeling dead, sometimes I could have very good sex drive, right? It doesn't really affect it because it's a human instinct. When we're feeling dead, we want to procreate. We want to, that's a human instinct because when you feel you're in danger, you're dying, you're anxious, you're stressed, sex can help alleviate the stress, could help alleviate the danger, right? That you like the feeling of danger. It could help sometimes, not all the time. So that's why when we're having these feelings, we end up having sex, right? It's a human instinct because if we don't procreate, when we're in danger, we become extinct. It's when we are in danger is when we have to procreate, right? Like let's say there's a war, your body is going through a lot of stress during the war, right? And what you want to do during the war, you want to have a lot of sex because you want to procreate. You want to make sure that humanity continue to exist, right? So it's an instinct. It's something that's programmed in us that yes, when you're feeling in danger, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling you're about to die, you're gonna have sex. Although but That's I'm talking about when you only have small feeling of death, right? But when the feeling of death becomes very large, you don't care about sex anymore. Now, this is sometimes like it depends how bad it is, right? So like if you feel like okay, I'm dying, I'm gonna die today, right? If you feel that, most likely you're not gonna have sex. Like that night you're not gonna have sex, or that day you're not gonna have sex. It's when you have small amount of anxiety. This is when you have sex, right? Small amount of depression, small amount of anxiety. It's actually pushes you to have sex, pushes you to have sex. But when the feeling of death become more extreme, no way. There's no way I could have sex on that day. No way. So as I said, it depends. It all depends. Sometimes it can make you feel that feeling of death. It can make you feel like horny, I could say. Makes your desire of sex to increase, your sex drive to increase. Or it could work the opposite. It could turn you off, right? And depending on the intensity of your stress and anxiety. Um, from my observations, uh, I'm speaking of from my observations. Um, yeah, like I want to refrain, to be honest, from sex, but it's kind of a challenge. Like when you're a lot of time, you feel you're dying, and instincts kicks in, and it's like you want to have sex, right? But I've been controlling it. I've been even though when the instinct kicks in that I need to have sex, I control it. I try to because I know like if I do it, I'm not gonna sleep that night, so I'm not doing it, right? So I control it, and it's been sometimes 1 month I don't have sex. Um, now I don't know if that's good or not, but I know for sure the day I have sex, I don't sleep at all. Whether it's in the day or at nighttime, it's not making a difference. It's not helping me sleep. I used to think maybe if I have sex in the day, for sure, it's not gonna affect my sleep, but no, it may not be the case. But I have to keep monitoring and observing patterns, and that's the only way I could find out whether sex is affecting my sleep or not. Um, but I think it is so far from what I have observed. It's been affecting my sleep. So I'm gonna try to refrain as much as I can, or get some hormone replacement therapy because um, definitely my body, if I have low testosterone, sex may not be good for me. Because after sex, your testosterone is gonna drop very low, and then you cannot sleep. And if you can't sleep, you cannot make testosterone. Um, because testosterone is made when you sleep, right? A lot of it is made during sleep. So it's becoming a vicious cycle for me. And I don't want that. Um, yeah, so I have to monitor. I wish the healthcare system is more compassionate toward people with insomnia. At least, at least I should have been seen by endocrinologists every few weeks and get my hormone level tested all the time. That would have helped a lot, at least from understanding insomnia. Why we don't understand insomnia is because people they don't care about patients with insomnia. Until now, I feel like doctors don't know much about insomnia. They don't know much. There is no cure for it. They can't give you a cure other than psychiatric medications. And the reason being they don't know much is because they don't try. They don't try to cure people with insomnia. They don't care about people with insomnia. So how are they gonna find a cure if they don't care, right? The same thing with tinnitus. When I have tinnitus, a lot of people who have tinnitus, they get frustrated. They say there's no cure for tinnitus. But the reason there's no cure because nobody cares, right? Nobody want to do any testing. Even for my tinnitus, I have to beg to be tested. I have to beg to do the uh, some more testing, but they don't care. They don't want to do any more testing. They don't want to do anything. Like this, is how they think. If there's no cure, why should I do more testing? It's a waste of test, right? But that's the wrong attitude for the medical professionals. If you don't know the solution or the cure, you should do more testing, because that's going to help you find out the cure eventually, right? It's not a waste of test. It's not a waste of money. It's more about gaining knowledge, right? But doctors don't think of it that way, because they were like, we're not a research facility, we're doctors. If that if I know there's no cure, I shouldn't test it. That's how doctors think, right? I think so. I think that's how medical professionals think. If there's no cure, I'm not gonna waste money doing tests, waste taxpayer money, right? Doing unnecessary tests. Just live with it. Live with your condition. There's no cure. Live with it. That's their attitude. And I really don't like that attitude. Like, they should at least, if you don't want to do any testing, refer you to a research facility where they could do more testing on you, so that we gain knowledge about the condition. At least, even if there's no cure, at least you could gain knowledge about the condition. If my doctor referred me to a research facility, I would have been happy to participate, right? Um, to and hope that it can fix problems in the future. It may not fix my problem right now, but in hope scientists can gain knowledge about these things and help people, right? But again, nobody cares. It seems like wherever I go, nobody cares. Um, really, like for me, my hormone levels should have been tested every week. Really, that's what I think should have been done. Um, I should have been given some hormone replacement, um, to just restore my hormone levels. Maybe fix my mood, and that probably will help me escape this vicious cycle that I'm going through. Um, I should have been hospitalized. I should have been participating in a research. Like, these things should have been happening through my family doctor. But unfortunately, every time I book an appointment with my family doctor, he doesn't want to deal with me. He will find an excuse to cancel that appointment. Like 50% almost, I don't know, 50 or 40% of my appointments I make with my family doctor get canceled. Either he's on vacation or either he's in a meeting. We're like, oh, we didn't know he's in a meeting, so why you book my appointment? Why you book my appointment on a day he's in a meeting, right? Oh, he's on vacation. How many times? Every 2-3 months he's on vacation. Okay. Every few months he's on a vacation. So, like, even to book an appointment with my family doctor is becoming a challenge. I have to wait almost a month for each appointment I need to make with him. Almost a month. That's ridiculous. And that's why I don't really see a family doctor. I don't even know. It doesn't have a meaning anymore for me to have a family doctor. It's meaningless. Like, that's why I end up going to walk-in clinics. Um, at least walk-in clinics, they could see you on the same day. But walk-in clinics, they don't really care about you that much. So that's also the disadvantage of a walk-in clinic. They just do a test, a simple test. They don't care about referring you to a specialist that much. Blood test, that's the only thing they can do. Blood test. Specialist, not much of specialists. They don't care about that. If you tell them refer me to a hormone doctor, they're not gonna do that. A lot of them, they say go to your family doctor to ask for that. So walk-in clinics are more like if I'm having fever or I'm having some minor symptoms. They're good at doing that. They do a blood test and whatnot. But there's no solution. Even to get a family doctor in Canada, it's a long wait list. Sometimes 10 years you have to wait to get another family doctor. And it's pointless. Even when you get one, it's kind of pointless, because if your family doctor can only see you for once every month or once every few months, and you're sick and you need them to see you every week, pointless. What's there? It's not a good healthcare system. Like, they need to improve the healthcare system in Canada. Otherwise, eh, the quality of life in Canada is going to be very low. No one is going to be happy with this services we get here, public services like healthcare. I mean, what makes Canada great is the public services it offers, right? If we don't have good public services, then what's the point of living in Canada, right? You may as well move to another country where you could have a better healthcare. Um, Even if you don't have good public services, at least you have other options like private, and that could take care of you better. And if you're minimum wage, like, even now I'm willing to pay for private, but I'm minimum wage, right? So I cannot afford it. See, I'd rather live in a country where they pay me above minimum wage for most of the jobs I do, and yet offer that private healthcare, right? So that I have an option. Say, okay, I'm sick, I could go to a private clinic and they will take care of me like a king. And right now you feel like they don't care, nobody cares about you, and all you can do is make a YouTube video and talk about your frustrations. But that's all you can do for now. There's nothing else you can do. Um, Man, I hope things change. Like, I love Canada. I love the country, at least. I love the country. But I'm very sad to see that it's not getting any better. Every year it's getting worse and worse and worse. Um, I mean, I love every country. It's not just Canada, to be honest. We're all part of this world, and we must all love every country. It's God's creation. He created this world, and we should love it. Right? Um, you don't hate anything that God created, and you will always wish the best for every country in this world. And this is really me. Like, I wish the best for every country, but also I have to make a choice which country is better suited for me, right? For my best interest. And this is where I have to move eventually. And I don't know, it's very hard to move right now, especially living on minimum wage, and to make that choice to move to another country is challenging. Um, but I want to move even to the Philippines. I don't care if I live in the Philippines. Like, in the Philippines, where my wife is from, at least they have private healthcare, and if you have money, they take care of you very good. If you have money, you can pay for it. They could take care of you. But if you don't have money, you will suffer in the Philippines. So my plan is, maybe one day I could just do some online job or something. And I don't know, but it's very hard to find an online job. I don't know. I don't have experience in anything, so I don't know. I'm gonna keep trying a few things. Maybe find something online to do. And it's kind of hard to, because I have kids, I have family. It's kind of hard to move. Like, if I was younger, it would be more easier to move to another country. And when you're healthy, you're not sick. Now I'm sick, and even if I have an online job, I cannot move. Right? So it's very hard to move because I'm sick. I don't know. I'm still grateful for the free healthcare system we have you know, but it's still not that good. I'm grateful for it, especially when you're poor. You're more grateful for the free healthcare if you're poor. Um, but still, you feel like it's not enough. It's not sufficient. Um, it's not helping you that much. It's not meeting your needs. Um, because if you have to wait a long time to do an X-ray, a long time to see a doctor, a long time to see a specialist, your needs, your healthcare needs are not met. You're grateful for the free service, but again, your healthcare needs are not met. And as a person, you only care if your healthcare needs are met or not. Um, you don't care whether you're paying for it or not. I mean, I rather work and pay for it myself from my pocket rather than get no proper healthcare, right? Like if I don't get the proper healthcare, whether it's free or not, it doesn't matter. Like it's not I don't know how to say it. At the end of the day, all every person what every person cares about is getting their healthcare needs met. It's at the end of the day, so it doesn't matter if it's gonna be publicly funded or privately funded, as long as you get your healthcare needs met, right? Being poor is not gonna help, right? Even if we have private healthcare, it's not gonna help. So you either have to be somewhat wealthy and have the option to get private healthcare, and that's the only way you're gonna get your healthcare needs met. That's the only way. There's no other way around it. Um, and being in Canada on a minimum wage is not gonna help me, and I know that that's not an option for me. So I have to find other options. I have to look for a job that pays above minimum wage, and I have to look for a country that offers private healthcare, and I'll choose to live in that country. Right now I'm thinking of the Philippines. The Philippines, they have very good healthcare system. I mean, they bring nurses from the Philippines to America, so they're well trained. They import healthcare providers from the Philippines to America, so we know for sure they are well trained professionals, health professionals. Um, However, the public healthcare in the Philippines is not good, from what I heard. They are the same as in Canada. If you're poor in the Philippines, they don't care about you. You will die. Publicly health, publicly provided healthcare, they don't care. So, but I'm still grateful. Like we're still better. Our public healthcare system compared to the Philippines, let's say, is way better than the Philippines. It's way better because over there you still have to pay, right? And even it's public, like if you go to a public hospital in the Philippines, you still have to pay for your medications. They offer the service for free, but the medications you still have to pay for it. At least here in the hospital, you don't have to pay for the medications, right? They give it to you for free. I mean, there's still some good stuff about Canada. There's still, but I feel like all the good stuff in Canada is gonna disappear very soon. The more immigrants they bring, um, the worse the lifestyle is becoming because it's putting strain on the system. Um, it is putting strain on the system because it could handle so much. The system can only handle so much. The more people you bring in Canada, I'm not against immigrant. I'm an immigrant myself. I'm not against it. What I'm against about too many immigrants, right? Like you still have to make the quality of life good for the people living in that country, right? Acceptable, right? Like that's why we came to Canada is because we want to have a good life, right? But then now you bring more people, and then Well, what's the point of me? Then it becomes worse than my own country. Then you will start to question yourself, why did I move here? Why did I move to Canada when it's not any better than my own country, right? So yeah, it makes it bad not only for the Canadian that are living here, but for everybody else. Even the new immigrants coming in, they're gonna realize at some point they wasted their money. They're they came here for the wrong reason. Eventually, like when it becomes hard to get a job, hard to get good healthcare system, like good healthcare, hard to get a job, all these things, and then you realize, well, I made a mistake. I should have just stayed in my country, right? At some point, it's probably gonna balance out. At some point, where not many people are gonna come to Canada. Eventually, they will figure out that Canada is not good, and then they will not stay here. Maybe eventually the number of immigration will be reduced, but the only reason why now a lot of people coming, because their situation in their country is bad, and they're still looking at Canada, so still somewhat good compared to their country, so that's why they continue coming. But eventually it will, I feel it's going to balance out eventually, where they realize Canada is not even any better than their country, and you're going to see a lot of people leaving Canada, a lot, by the numbers. um, yeah, that's how it works. But I hope the government can do something to fix this issue, like stop the immigration. Stop it. That's enough. You have to put a number, right? I'm not against immigration. I'm just saying you have to put a number. Say, okay, enough is enough. This is it. This is the capacity of this country. Can't have more. If you want to bring more immigrants, then you have to have the infrastructure, right? For them, you have to have the housing. You have to have the jobs available for them. You have to have things set up for them. Otherwise, you're going to be harming the people who are living in this country for a long time. I'm not against them, but you have to have the infrastructure. You have to have the ability to do it, right? You bring more immigrants, but you also have to make sure you have the resources to support them, right? In terms of getting jobs, in terms of healthcare, in terms of housing, you have to have these things available for them if you want to bring them in. If you don't have it, and we're already having a housing crisis in Canada, everything, the rent is high, everything's high, and you bring more immigrants, it's gonna make the rent to go even higher, um, more than already it is, and the people who are on minimum wage are gonna suffer the most. That's the reality, and we people with the minimum wage are gonna suffer the most because we don't have an option. We can't even leave Canada. Even if we want to leave Canada, we can't, right? We don't have the skills. We don't have job skills. Um, which country is going to take us? Like, if I'm going to leave Canada, which country is going to take me? What skills I have to offer to the other country? Right? I'm a minimum wage labor person. What skills can I give? I can't leave. I have no option to leave, even if I wanted to. Right? But the people who are not minimum wage, who have some skills in a business or in some profession, they could leave easily. These are the people who will probably leave first when the situation becomes bad, right? Because if you're a nurse in Canada and the situation becomes bad, well, you have an option to work as a nurse in another country, right? If you're a doctor here in Canada, you could leave, work in another country as a doctor. So you have options at least, right? If you're working McDonald's, customer service, whatever, fast food restaurants, what choice you have? You don't have much choices, right? You're a minimum wage person. You don't have job skills. You go to another country, you're probably gonna get minimum wage as well, and it might help. It might be better still than Canada, but But you don't know, you're taking chances. It might not work for you as well. So I don't know where to put myself right now. Like, I really hope things improve in Canada, or I improve myself. I can't change a country, but I can change myself. Like, I want to improve myself. I want to, at least, I cannot change Canada. At least I could change myself and get a better job, build some skills, um, maybe get a profession, um, and hopefully I could escape this country. Like, hopefully, hopefully. God help me, please.